Jennifer Lopez has finally spoken about her rumored divorce from Ben Affleck, so let's dive into this drama. Now, during the Mexico press conference for her latest Netflix movie, Atlas, the star had a very clipped response when asked if she and her husband are headed for divorce. In a video posted to Instagram, a fan asked J.Lo in Spanish if the divorce rumors are true and asked her to provide some insight into their situation. J.Lo didn't take the bait though, leaning forward with a stern look at the person and saying, "You know better than that," before taking other questions about her work in the movie. Now, Ben did not attend this with her, as he was reportedly absent due to filming schedules on his own upcoming movie, The Accountant 2. A People source revealed on May 22nd that their marriage is not in the best place at the moment due to their differing approaches to media attention. Jen is living in their $60 million Beverly Hills home amid the relationship conflict, while Ben is renting a property a few miles away. Now, Jen was seen house hunting last week, but with rumors of a divorce, is she looking for a new house for herself? Now, Jen and Ben actually bought a massive estate just last year, but it appears that they might be selling it soon. Now, it's very interesting that J.Lo refused to answer the fans' question because last week she added to these rumors as she liked a post that raised some eyebrows. Now, the post in question reads, "You cannot build a healthy relationship with somebody who, among other things, lacks integrity and emotional safety, doesn't respect your time, doesn't think it's important to call text back in a respectable time frame, lacks effective communication skills, and doesn't know who they are or what they want." Now, is she like this in relation to Ben? That's not the best thing, and I understand why they'd be going through marital troubles. The post came amid an Us Weekly source confirming that while Jen and Ben are working on things, they're having issues in their marriage. Now, the insider added that the issues began a few months ago as Jen had started ramping up work commitments and prepping for her tour. Jen is very focused on work, they're on two completely different pages most of the time, they said. Now, reports of Ben Affleck's potential split were first reported by tabloid In Touch, who spoke to an anonymous source who claimed that the writing is on the wall, it's over, they're headed for a divorce, and for once, Ben is not to blame. Now, according to In Touch, the pair are also in couples therapy. Ben believes in therapy to a point and is willing to be a good sport about participating with an open mind, even though he hates the whole humiliating process, the insider told the outlet. He's never going to gauge the success of his marriage by what happens in the therapist's office, and he also has a higher tolerance for conflict and having to fight to get his way than the average guy, they said. She, aka J.Lo, likes to open her heart to her fans and to the world, a source told the outlet, and he, Ben, is more introspective and private. This has been difficult day to day. Now, the new claim is supported by previous sources reporting from People, which noted that Ben doesn't enjoy the spotlight as much as Jen does. They have very different approaches when it comes to media attention. Ben hates all the attention and it makes him very uncomfortable. Jennifer has always had a different approach, a source told the outlet. Now, fans saw this play out during J.Lo's documentary as she exposed their private love letters to her producers and songwriters. Ben gifted Jennifer a scrapbook for Christmas in 2021, stacked with every letter and email they'd written each other over the last 20 years. Jennifer showed the book to her producers and songwriters on the first day of making her new album without asking or telling Ben. Now, Ben wasn't much of a fan with this either. Ben expressed hesitancy with how transparent J.Lo is about their relationship in her work. "I did really find the beauty in the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told," he told the cameras. "And if you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like telling it." Now, he chalked it up to artistic inspiration and said that Jen's style was an adjustment for him. Now, fans all around the world have always questioned their relationship and never thought they would last. Now, we'll just have to see how this all plays out.
Number 10. The movie premiere. A few months ago, the couple hit the red carpet at the premiere for J.Lo's movie called The Mother. Jennifer looked amazing on the red carpet as she wore a sparkling sequin-covered beige crop top with a matching skirt and blazer. The two of them posed for several pictures together that turned out really great, but a video of that moment told a different story. Right away, you could tell that they were both very upset at something. Jennifer was frowning and making some dramatic gestures to Ben, who also looked angry. At one point they were locked into a very tense conversation, but when their photos were taken they completely changed their body language. Then all of a sudden they were smiling and happy when the cameras were on them. Of course they just wanted to get some nice photos, but fans couldn't help but wonder what they were actually discussing. Whatever it was, it seemed to put Ben in a very bad mood. And the crazy thing is, we've seen so many of these awkward moments between them, so this is just the beginning. Number 9. Fighting in public. It's become pretty obvious that their marital bliss isn't quite as it seems, because now there's repeated instances of Ben and Jennifer being caught arguing on camera. First incident that occurred was shortly after Jennifer's Today interview, when the couple were filmed having what looked like a tense argument at the premiere for her film Shotgun Wedding. In a clip that quickly went viral on TikTok, J.Lo appears to taste a bit of Ben's drink and then she looks at him sternly. She seems visibly fed up with her husband as he tries to defend himself and repeatedly says Jen. He could also be heard yelling over the music, saying that he didn't drink anything. It is theorized at the time that Ben is insisting that he hasn't been drinking alcohol and that she was tasting his drink to check in the video. Ben has been very open about his recovery from alcoholism and the fact that he's been to rehab multiple times over the years, like in 2001, 2017 and 2018. That video has been viewed around 2 million times so far, but surprisingly, most people seem to think that Jennifer is being unsupportive of Ben's struggles. Someone commented, "They just seem exhausting. This marriage will never see 18 months." Another person wrote, "It just looks like she doesn't trust him." Picked up the drink to taste it, he's clearly upset. And there does seem to be a lot of truth to that. Number 8. The 2023 Grammys. Things seemed awkward between the couple when they were filmed at this year's Grammys. Someone posted a video on Twitter of the two of them sitting together and they wrote, "However bad of a day you're having, I promise you're not as miserable as Ben Affleck at the Grammys right now." And it's true that whatever he was feeling at that ceremony, he simply looked miserable and like he would rather be anywhere else. Next to him, J.Lo was clapping happily and a lot more focused on what was going on stage than how her partner was feeling. As expected, the comments under that video were pretty brutal. Someone wrote he could be home baking with Jennifer Garner, and instead he's looking around for the emergency exits for a quick getaway. In another awkward video from the event, the couple were captured having an intense argument, but they seemed like they were trying to play it off for the cameras. In the clip, Ben can be seen leaning over to whisper something in Jennifer's ear, only for her to whip her head around and sternly say something to him. She then puts her hand to his chest and appears to tell him to sit up straight as he immediately adjusts his posture. Well, we all saw what happened. Number 7. Slamming the car door. Looks like there is even more trouble in Ben Affleck Paradise, because the couple recently went viral on social media for, you guessed it, fighting in public. So this time Ben was seen slamming the car door in Jennifer's face while they were running errands in Santa Monica. Video captured of that moment shows him looking upset while he was walking to his car. He's clearly annoyed, but he still opens the door for Jennifer so she can get in. But once she's inside, he pretty much slams it shut in her face. When that moment was shared on Twitter, everyone started guessing why he was so angry. Was it because they had gotten into an argument, or was it something else? One person wrote, "Maybe he's just irritated because someone is recording him." Another person said, "I'm sure he's just annoyed at the people pointing the phones at them while they are trying to do normal stuff." Considering that J.Lo and Ben are one of the most recognizable couples in the world, there's bound to be paparazzi following them around all day. So it's really no wonder that he feels frustrated, and maybe that's why he's been in such a dark mood recently. Number 6. Cheating allegations. As we know, Ben and Jennifer have had an on-again, off-again romance that's been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Ben Affleck. I mean, these two just got married recently after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago. But the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag because it includes some alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, J.Lo filed for divorce from her second husband Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after she had wrapped up the movie Geely alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter and gushed about Jennifer before her divorce was finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father Larry spoke out against the couple, and he accused J.Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of the movie. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer." He also said that she would be a lot happier if she would just tell the truth and no one in her little circle was going to say one negative thing about her. But I guess we'll never really know the truth about what happened. Number 5. Dissing Jennifer Garner. In December of 2021, Ben made some very controversial comments on Howard Stern when he said that he felt trapped during their marriage, and that was a part of the reason why he started drinking. When you look at his choice of words, it's easy to see why people thought he was attacking Jennifer Garner. He said, "We had a marriage that didn't work. work. What I did was I drank a bottle of scotch and fell asleep on the couch, which turned out not to be the solution. At the time, Ben said that they made the right decision ending their marriage because they would probably be at each other's throats, and he'd probably still be drinking. He since had to clarify those remarks and explain that they were taken out of context. He said, "I was trying to say, hey look, I was drinking too much, and the less happy you become, whether it's your job, your marriage, it's just that your life becomes more difficult, and if you're doing things to fill a hole that aren't healthy, you're going to start doing more of those things." It insisted that his behavior is his own responsibility entirely, but he was also upset by all the backlash that he got. Since that interview with Howard Stern, he says he's become very guarded around what he chooses to say and where he chooses to say it, and apparently that's the reason why he stayed off social media for such a long time. Number 4, she hates being alone. Jennifer has admitted more than once that she hates being single, so she tends to fall hard and fast, throwing all of herself into her relationships. In the early 2000s, this was especially evident. Jennifer moved on from Diddy, who allegedly cheated on her numerous times, and almost immediately took up with her backup dancer Chris Judd, who, as we know now, she ended up marrying that September, only to ditch him for Ben Affleck in 2002. In 2014, Jennifer did an interview where she finally admitted that she does get scared to be alone. She said, "The first person who shows up and gives me a little comfort and we have a little chemistry, boom, we're in." She also said that she is one of those people who does not like to be alone, and that she has no shame saying that at this point in her life. Quote, "I think we have to own who we are. I always believed in the institution of marriage." Her parents were married for a very long time, for 35 years, and she said she does believe in it even though it is difficult. At the end of the interview, J.Lo says that she's had her challenges, but at the same time, she still believes in love. Though it might be her aversion to being alone that results in her making bad decisions about romance, like settling for partnerships that aren't healthy or trying to turn flings into full-fledged relationships. Number 3, Jennifer's past. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of J.Lo's relationship with Marc Anthony in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere, and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable, to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Diana Torres in 2000, while J.Lo was dating Ben Affleck around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance up while Anthony was still married to Diana. So less than a week after his divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. And that really begs the question of whether or not J.Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of this rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Diana's heart. She said, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower. I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for J.Lo might have been there all along because the two had history, but they should have put more thought into why he chose to marry her in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault. Number 2, lying about their breakup. In September of 2003, Ben and Jen were all set to tie the knot, but the public pressure became too great and they postponed their nuptials. It was reported that they had a meeting just days before they were set to walk down the aisle because paparazzi began swarming the area of the venue, and important details about their wedding were leaking to the press. Apparently, they then told the 400 guests not to show up. The couple released a joint statement shortly after saying, "Due to the excessive media attention surrounding our wedding, we've decided to postpone the date. When we found ourselves seriously contemplating hiring 3 separate decoy brides at 3 different locations, we realized that something was awry. We began to feel that the spirit of what should have been the happiest day of our lives could be compromised." But later on, an inside source claimed that while the media did play a role in their demise, it wasn't as big of a part as they claimed. Quote, "When you love someone, the media circus does not get in the way." Jennifer didn't realize it at the moment, but when he called the wedding off, the relationship was over. He got out of the trap and wasn't going to get back in. He was looking for a graceful way to let it die. And coming in at number 1, way too much criticism. Ben and J.Lo both agreed that the media scrutiny surrounding their relationship was just too much for them to handle. When speaking about their relationship in 2008, Ben said, "I think Jen and I made a mistake in that we fell in love. We were excited, maybe too too accessible. I don't think either of us anticipated the degree to which it would take on a world of its own. He spoke more about their split in 2012 and described it as running away. I moved on for a while to this place in Georgia that I have and was able to get away by and large. Come up with a plan for how to do something with my life that doesn't put me in the crosshairs of this sort of thing. For her part, J.Lo explained that they didn't try to have a public relationship, they just happened to be together at the birth of the tabloids, which was a lot of pressure. But she still maintained that there was a genuine love there, and in a different time, she said who knows what could have happened. Well, now we do. They got married. More trouble in Bennifer paradise. That's right, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are once again going viral on social media, and this time it's because Ben slammed the car door in her face while they were running errands in Santa Monica. Video captured of that moment shows him looking upset while walking to his car. He's clearly frustrated, but he still opens the door for J.Lo so she can get in. Once she's inside though, he pretty much slams it shut. When that moment was shared on Twitter, everyone started guessing why he was just so angry. Was it because they had gotten into an argument, or was it something else? One person wrote, maybe he's just irritated because someone is recording him. I imagine that would get very old. Another said, I'm sure he was just annoyed at people pointing their phones at them while they're trying to do normal stuff. Considering that J.Lo and Ben are one of the most recognizable people in the world, there is bound to be paparazzi following them around all day. It's really no wonder that he feels frustrated, but there might be something else that's going on as well. Fans have noticed that Ben's been in a really dark mood recently. More than anything, he just seems sad and upset. A couple days ago, the couple hit the red carpet at the premiere for J.Lo's new movie, The Mother. Jennifer looked amazing as she wore a sparkling sequin-covered beige crop top with a matching skirt and blazer. The two of them posed for several smiling pictures together that turned out great, but a video of that moment told a different story. Right away, you could tell that they were both upset at something. Jennifer was frowning and making dramatic gestures at Ben, who also looked angry. At one point, they were locked into a very intense conversation, but when their pictures were taken, they completely changed their whole body language. Then all of a sudden, they were smiling and happy when the cameras were on them. Of course, they just wanted to get some nice photos, but fans couldn't help but wonder what they were actually discussing. Whatever it was, it seemed to put Ben in a very bad mood. Since January, the couple have been spotted arguing in public quite a lot, and it was also caught on camera at one of the biggest events of the year. At the Grammys, Jen seemed to be demanding that Ben should pretend to be enjoying himself, which he clearly wasn't. They were spotted exchanging some tense words during the ceremony, just as Trevor Noah sat down next to them. If you watch that video, you can almost read Jennifer's lips, and it looks like she said, "Look more friendly, look motivated," and in response, Ben seems to be saying, "I might." And this event came after he was caught on camera angrily confronting her at the January 18th premiere of her film Shotgun Wedding. At the time, he could also be seen yelling over the music, saying that he didn't drink anything, while she seemed to be tasting his drink to check whether or not he was telling the truth. Some fans said that these arguments were similar to ones that he used to have with his ex-wife Jennifer Garner. In December of 2021, Ben made some very controversial comments on Howard Stern when he said that he felt trapped during their marriage, and that was a part of the reason why he started drinking. When you look at his choice of words, it's easy to see why people thought he was attacking Jennifer. He said, "We had a marriage that didn't work. What I did was I drank a bottle of scotch and fell asleep on the couch, which turned out not to be the solution." At the time, Ben said they made the right decision to end their marriage, because if they didn't, they would probably be at each other's throats, and he would probably still be drinking. He since had to clarify those remarks and explain that they were taken out of context. He said, "I was trying to say, hey look, I was drinking too much, and the less happy you become, whether it's your job, your marriage, it's just like that as your life becomes more difficult. If you're doing things to fill a hole that aren't healthy, you're going to start doing more of those things." Ben insisted that his behavior is his own responsibility entirely, but he was also upset by all the backlash he got. Since that interview with Howard Stern, he says he's become very guarded around what he chooses to say and where he chooses to say it, and that's kind of the reason he stayed off social media for such a long time. And now we have a pretty big update on the drama between Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck at the Grammys. A seat filler who sat next to the couple has just spoken out about what they were really saying, and apparently Ben knew his miserable expression was going viral and he didn't care. A TikTok user by the name of Anna posted a 2-minute video where she discussed her experience being seated next to them for part of the show. She said, "I was next to them for a good bit of it. That was my favorite seat. I was right in front of Beyonce." She claimed that she wanted to talk to the actor but decided against it because he didn't look happy. Quote, "I didn't want to talk to him and be like, oh my god, Good Will Hunting is one of my favorite movies. You're my hero. Because I didn't feel like doing that and I didn't want to be embarrassed. So don't judge me for that, it was scary. I was just so lucky to be seated right next to him." him. As for what Ben and J.Lo were really talking about, it's actually really funny. At the time, there was a meme going around of Ben being upset at award shows, and during the actual ceremony, Jennifer showed it to him. Quote, J.Lo showed Ben Affleck the phone and was like, "Oh my god, honey, look at this meme circulating about you." And he was like, "Oh god, this again." He knew during the performance that he was a meme. Like, he knew, and he also chose not to change his expression. Anna went on to say, "I just love how unbothered that is. So I know that she was on her phone and saw it and was like, honey, this is so funny, just look at this." And he was like, "Jesus Christ." Although the TikTok user made sure to let people know that the couple were very much in love. She said they were very smitten, they were super lovey-dovey, like their hands were always entwined. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but they just were. So it wasn't like, oh my god, this is going to lead to divorce. They were cute. Anna also revealed that the couple left the ceremony early, and Ben took the skirt of J.Lo's dress and lifted it up too much, so she had to tell him off. This news comes after someone posted a video on Twitter of the two of them sitting together, with the caption, "However bad of a day you're having, I promise you're not as miserable as Ben Affleck at the Grammys right now." As expected, the comments under the video were pretty brutal. Someone wrote, "He could be home baking with Jennifer Garner, and instead he's looking around for the emergency exits for a quick getaway." In another awkward video of the event, the newlyweds were captured having an intense argument, but they seemed like they were trying to play it off for the cameras. In the clip, Ben can be seen leaning over to whisper something in Jennifer's ear, only for her to whip her head around and sternly say something to him. She then puts her hand on his chest and appears to tell him to sit up straight, as he immediately adjusts his posture. J.Lo looks annoyed and rolls her eyes before noticing that they are on camera. She then turns her attention to Trevor Noah, who's hosting the show, and tries to laugh it off. But it's possible that Ben was just exhausted and not necessarily miserable in J.Lo's company. In fact, after the Grammys, an insider source spoke to Entertainment Tonight, and they said that he's more of a homebody and he just was feeling tired during the event. So that part was certainly accurate. In other words, just because he was not smiling all night long doesn't mean his relationship with Jennifer is suddenly on the rocks. But what do you think about the latest story? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Moving on, there is a reason everyone's talking about Ben Affleck's latest interview with The Hollywood Reporter. In it, he dropped quite a few bombs. Ben said that his experience shooting Justice League was so horrible that he bailed on directing Batman. But people were surprised at just how much he hated it. He said, "Justice League, you could teach a seminar on all the reasons why this is how not to do it, ranging from production to bad decisions to horrible personal tragedy, and just ending with the most monstrous taste in my mouth. That was the worst experience I've ever seen in a business which is full of some crappy experiences." What he's talking about is the absolute chaos that came with Joss Whedon, who made 2017's Justice League a critical and commercial bomb. It was so bad that it actually ruined his career. But by the time the Zack Snyder version came out in 2021, the damage was already done. Ben's time on set caused him to start drinking again, and things got very bad very quickly. He said, "I was back at the hotel in London. It was either that or jump out the window. And I just thought, this isn't the life I want. My kids aren't here. I'm miserable." In the end, he ultimately decided that something in his life needed to change, and he was done with the character altogether. What's really interesting is how he describes shooting Batman. Apparently, most of the time he was just wearing a rubber suit standing against a computer screen. He said he felt sweaty and exhausted, and it got to the point where he thought, "I don't want to participate in this in any way, and I don't want to squander more of my life." Wow, so clearly he had a lot of things that he wanted to get off his chest. Apart from that, Ben also reflected on the backlash that he faced after it seemed like he was blaming his struggles with alcoholism on Jennifer Garner. In December of 2021, you might remember that he told Howard Stern that he felt trapped during his marriage, and that was part of the reason why he wanted to start drinking again. When you look at his choice of words, it's easy to see why people thought he was attacking her. He said, "We had a marriage that didn't work. What I did was I drank a bottle of scotch and fell asleep on the couch, which turned out not to be the solution." If you didn't know, the two of them were married from 2005 to 2018, which is a pretty long marriage by Hollywood standards. But just like any other relationship, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. At the time, Ben said that they'd made the right decision ending their marriage, because they would probably be at each other's throats and he'd probably still be drinking. He's now had to clarify those remarks and said that they were taken out of context. He said, "What I was trying to say was, hey look, I was drinking too much, and the less happy you become, whether it's your job, your marriage, it's just that as your life becomes more difficult, if you're doing things to fill a hole that aren't healthy, you're going to start doing more of those things." Ben insisted that his his behavior is his own responsibility entirely, and said that he thought he was being pretty articulate about this until he saw the reaction on Twitter, and there's no way to sugarcoat it, it was pretty bad. Stella Pardon wrote, "Is it me, or is Ben Affleck a total cad or what? After all his struggles, his ex-wife Jennifer Garner, the mother of his 3 children, supported him for years through it, and then he gets on Howard Stern and blames her for his drinking. Excuse me, grow the F up, Ben." The actor went on to explain how the internet turned on him and made him out to be the worst, most insensitive, stupid, awful guy. He said it was a very painful experience, and it's part of the reason he now has anxiety about interviews and going on social media. After everything he's been through, he's actually become very guarded around what he chooses to say and where he chooses to say it. Ben called these platforms landmines, where if you say one wrong thing, your career might be over. He's not wrong, of course, but it sounds like he's almost become traumatized after what happened from the Howard Stern interview. One person that helps him get through this is his wife Jennifer Lopez. Ben said that she's now become a source of support and encouragement for him before public appearances. J.Lo is clearly a pro because she tells him to relax, be himself, and just have fun. Ben talked about taking her advice and said, "She's really right and she loves me. She's looking out for me. She's trying to help me. So it's like, maybe I ought to effing listen to her." Well, yeah, that would be a good idea. If anyone knows how to handle life in the spotlight, it's definitely J.Lo. Moving on, what is Ben Affleck doing working at Dunkin' Donuts? On Monday, the 50-year-old actor was spotted dressed in the full employee uniform while taking orders at one of the store's locations in Boston. Sporting the classic brown employee t-shirt, a matching visor, and a drive-through headset, apparently he was filming a commercial, which is such a shame because that dashes everyone's hopes and dreams of going through the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through and being served by Ben Affleck. An inside source spoke to Entertainment Tonight and said Ben is heavily involved in the commercial, as he pitched the script, is directing and starring in it. Ben has loved Dunkin' for years and his partnership couldn't be more perfect. He's been very hands-on with the whole process and is excited for everyone to see. Well, that's a fact. Think about it. He's basically always been an ambassador for them as he's been working off the clock. Time and time again, he's been seen walking around LA holding a bag of Dunkin' Donuts. So clearly it was just a matter of time before a collab came around. Apparently though, Ben was put to work for real while filming the commercial. How do we know this? Well, there was one lucky customer, Lisa McKay, who pulled up to the Dunkin's in Medford, Massachusetts, told Entertainment Tonight Ben Affleck was filming a Dunkin's commercial yesterday. "I was surprised and nervous when I saw him. He took my order and I handed him a $10 note and he threw it right back at me and handed me my iced coffee. He was super nice, very funny and handsome. Of course, I didn't see J.Lo, but I heard she was inside." One fan managed to capture a video of the whole thing, and even though it's deleted now, you can actually see Ben and J.Lo together at the Dunkin' store, just as filming wraps up and the crew celebrates the end of his shift. In the clip, J.Lo sips a drink as she joins her husband behind the counter, while he thanks the crew and jokes about his place on the employee wall. As I mentioned before, the partnership comes as no surprise. We know that Ben loves Dunkin's, and of course photos of him collecting the food went viral. There was one of him holding an iced coffee and taking a long sigh, which has gone on to become one of the internet's most circulated pictures. Not to mention the time in 2019 when he gushed about his favorite chain finally making its way to LA, and he literally made it his mission to get the word out. He said, "I have Dunkin' Donuts every day. It's very weird, I have it every day and people are always like, where is that? Is that near here? So I feel like I'm spreading the word." So there you have it. It's good to see that Ben is finally getting some kind of sponsorship deal out of all of this. You really gotta love his enthusiasm though. In August last year, Ben and J.Lo took a post-wedding trip to the coffee chain in California, where they posted pictures of them kissing while he held a bag of Dunkin' Donuts in one hand. The commercial is actually set to be their first on-screen collaboration since they were in the movie Jersey Girl together 20 years ago. Next up, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are hitting back at the haters and proving their devotion to each other by getting tatted up. That's right, they've got matching tattoos in honor of their romance, and they posted the photos on Instagram. On Valentine's Day, J.Lo got a tattoo on her ribcage of an arrow piercing an infinity sign that's made up of her and Ben's names, while his design includes arrows with the couple's first initials. She captioned the photo with the word commitment and said, "Happy Valentine's Day, my love. Hashtag commitment is sexy." The ink was probably to mark the special occasion, as it was their first time celebrating the holiday as husband and wife. Back in July, Jennifer and Ben tied the knot in Las Vegas. The couple had an on-again, off-again romance that's been going on since the 2000s. They first met on the set of Geely in early 2002, and they got engaged for the first time in November of that year. Despite planning to marry in September of 2003, they ended up calling it off just days before the wedding, and said that the excessive media attention had taken a toll on their romance. Then almost 20 years later, they got back together in 2021. 2021. J.Lo wrote about the wedding and said, "We did it. Love is beautiful, love is kind, and it turns out love is patient. 20 years patient. It was exactly what we wanted. Last night we flew to Vegas, stood in line for a license with 4 other couples, all making the same journey to the wedding capital of the world." So it seems like it was really meant to be, especially when they came back into each other's lives after so long. But fans have been saying something different ever since Ben's miserable appearance at this year's Grammys and multiple instances of the couple caught arguing in public. The first incident that occurred was shortly after Jennifer's Today interview, when the couple was filmed having what looked like a tense argument at the premiere for her new movie Shotgun Wedding. In a clip that quickly went viral on TikTok, J.Lo appears to taste Ben's drink and then looks at him sternly. She seems visibly fed up with her husband as he tries to defend himself and repeatedly says, "Jen." He could also be seen yelling over the music that he did not drink anything. Someone wrote, "They just seem exhausting. This marriage will never see 18 months. Another person commented, "It just looks like she doesn't trust him." Picked up the drink to taste it. He's clearly upset. Then at the Grammys, there was a viral video of Ben looking miserable while he was seated next to his wife. That instantly became a meme, and it seemed like everyone had an opinion on their relationship. Someone tweeted, "Okay, I kind of feel bad for Ben Affleck, I can't lie. And Ben Affleck is all of us when we realize it's a school night and we're out past our bedtime." There were also people joking that he would rather be at Dunkin' Donuts or at home with Jennifer Garner. But according to a seat filler who sat next to the couple, they were not actually arguing. The TikTok user by the name of Anna posted a 2-minute video where she said, "I was sat next to them for a good bit of it. That was my favorite seat. I was right in front of Beyonce." She claimed that she wanted to talk to the actor but decided against it because he did not look happy. According to Anna, J.Lo was just showing Ben the meme that was circulating about him, and she genuinely thought it was funny. So even though he was looking truly miserable, that might have just been his resting sad face, and not necessarily a sign that he was unhappy in his relationship.
American actress and musician Jennifer Lopez, more popularly known as J.Lo, was just married to actor and filmmaker Ben Affleck in Las Vegas. The wedding happened quickly and was a small ceremony, the couple seeming happy in the pictures and letter released by J.Lo in her own personal newsletter. While the couple appear perfectly happy together now, they had actually previously been in a relationship almost 20 years ago, which ended in a split. They had actually been engaged before and were set to have a wedding, the ceremony being cancelled mere days before it occurred. So why didn't their original relationship work out, and how did they manage to rekindle the romance 2 decades later? Jennifer Lopez was married to her second husband, Chris Judd, when she met Ben Affleck on set of the film Gigli in December of 2001. After the two met, she divorced her husband soon after in July of 2002. Ben and J.Lo then started dating, Ben appearing in her music video for Jenny from the Block before proposing to her soon after in November of the same year. They were planning their wedding to take place in September of 2003, with 200 guests set to arrive in Santa Barbara, California. Guests included the likes of Bruce Willis, Matt Damon, Carrie Fisher, Jack Nicholson, and more. Everything was set and ready to go before the wedding was abruptly cancelled just 4 days before the ceremony was set to take place. The official reason that was given at the time for the wedding being postponed was that details of the ceremony had been leaked to the press. The statement said, "Due to the excessive media attention surrounding our wedding, we have decided to postpone the date. We began to feel that the spirit of what should have been the happiest day of our lives could be compromised. We felt what should have been a joyful and sacred day could be spoiled for us, our families, and our friends." The media pressure that was constantly on the couple seemed to be overwhelming. Apparently, before the cancellation of the wedding, they made plans to have 3 decoy brides appear at the venue in order to distract reporters and paparazzi. An insider said that Jennifer was hysterically crying when she had to call all the guests and inform them of the cancellation. Then just 4 months later, the wedding would never end up happening as the couple split up, J.Lo describing it as her first real heartbreak. They were also set to star in a film as a married couple shortly after, so Ben Affleck cut out the scene in the movie where they would have had a wedding. He said that this was because it would have been distracting to
to viewers, and many people would have been overwhelmed by the irony of the situation. He said in an interview, "The irony is not lost on me, but the film was made when Jen and I were incredibly happy together. Every time you see a movie you've made, you're reminded about the people you made it with. This wasn't any different, and the memories attached to it are all good." It seems that the couple did have a very positive relationship, and when they split up, there was apparently no bitterness or animosity. The two went on to have various different relationships over the next years, both getting married and having children with different people, with whom they then split up later. J.Lo was last engaged to baseball icon Alex Rodriguez in March of 2019 before calling it off in April. Shortly after that, it appeared that she and Ben Affleck got back together 2 decades after their relationship had ended, even being spotted house hunting together. In April of this year, they announced that they had become engaged once again, Jennifer showing off a large green diamond ring. In a Father's Day post, Jennifer said the following about Ben: "I love my career, but nothing is more fulfilling to me than being able to build a family with someone who I love deeply and who is just as dedicated to family and to each other as we can be, and I feel incredibly blessed." J.Lo has twins that she had with ex Mark Anthony, and Ben has 3 children that he had with ex-wife Jennifer Garner. This time their wedding plans went through, and they got married in a sudden ceremony that took place in Las Vegas, joined by their children. In her newsletter, J.Lo said, "Stick around long enough and maybe you'll find the best moment of your life in a drive-thru in Las Vegas at 12:30 in the morning in the Tunnel of Love drive-thru, with your kids and the one you'll spend forever with." So here's hoping that the couple have finally found their happiness and will continue to have a positive relationship together. Jennifer finally being able to follow through on her promise of changing her name to Affleck. In 2002, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got together, the romance of Bennifer taking the media by storm. They were set to get married after 18 months together, and Jennifer said she would be changing her last name to Affleck, but she canceled just days before the wedding, citing excessive media attention as the reason. There were apparently no hard feelings, and they said that there had just been too much pressure put on them in their relationship. Well, the couple got back together again nearly 20 years later and announced their engagement last spring. On Saturday, it was revealed they had gotten married on a whim in a Las Vegas ceremony. She announced the event in her personal newsletter called On the J.Lo, along with pictures and videos of the ceremony. It was also discovered that she had finally followed through on changing her name, as she signed the letter Mrs. Jennifer Lynn Affleck. Congratulations, J.Lo. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez have finally gotten married after a large separation when their first wedding was cancelled and the two ended their original relationship. During the time in between, they both moved on to have various other relationships and even children. So how have their exes been since Affleck and Lopez tied the knot? Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck were married for 13 years and split up in 2018. Affleck has said that their divorce was his biggest regret. During the wedding, Garner was seen shopping at a Sam's Club store, apparently being invited to the wedding but not being able to attend due to scheduling conflicts. Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband Mark Anthony was another who was not in attendance. Instead, he was seen hanging out at a marina and waving to staff as he went to visit his private yacht. If you're gonna have to watch your ex-wife and mother of your children get married to someone else, you might as well do it from the comfort of your yacht. Ben Affleck and now wife Jennifer Lopez had their second wedding celebration this past weekend in Georgia after intimately tying the knot in Las Vegas around a month ago. This is the pair's second attempt at a wedding to each other, and it seems that this one has finally worked out, the media not managing to get in the way this time. During their time apart, both the bride and groom had separate relationships and even families. While it seems a few exes were invited to celebrate over the weekend, both Jennifer Garner and Mark Anthony were not in attendance, being spotted elsewhere. We've already talked about that, and it makes sense that you probably wouldn't want to show up to watch your ex get married to somebody else. But what is a bit more strange is the fact that Ben Affleck's brother Casey Affleck was also on the list of people who were not in attendance. So let's take a look at the reasons why Casey didn't show up to celebrate his brother's marriage. First off, him not being there actually isn't much of a surprise, as he had previously told a paparazzi that he was not gonna be there. On Saturday, while the celebrations were taking place in Georgia, Casey was spotted getting Starbucks in Los Angeles. He's confronted by a paparazzi who asks him why he's not in LA. Casey, like most celebrities being interrupted during their morning coffee, really doesn't look in the mood to chat, and mumbles something under his breath that sounds like he's saying saying he fell asleep. The man holding the camera asked for some clarification on what he said, but Casey's ready to move on with his day and doesn't offer the man any more explanation, not like he owed it to him anyway. Casey signs a few autographs before ducking into the restaurant. While other esteemed guests, including celebrities, family, and friends, were showing up in Georgia over the weekend and being spotted at the festivities, Casey still seemed to be on the other side of the country, not concerned with his brother's wedding and the fact that he should probably be there. As the weekend went on, Casey stayed out of the spotlight before finally being spotted out on an ice cream date with his girlfriend Kaylee Cohen. They were both seen dressing super casual and showed no signs that they had maybe jumped over to the wedding and then come back. They had no interest in discussing the wedding and why they weren't there. While he was spotted out on a date, another reason for his absence seemed to be that he was busy preparing his kid to go off to college, calling it his parenting duties. In an Instagram post from the weekend, Casey shared a throwback picture of him and his son with a heartfelt message in the caption saying, "The water gets deep, the sea is wide, the winds can kick up. You've seen it before. And though a ship is safest in harbor, that is not what ships are made for. You are ready for this. You are uniquely wonderful, full of integrity, courage, and kindness. You will be an improvement to the land of grown-ups. When I went to college, all my parents said was, thank God now we have the house to ourselves." He also did in fact share a message of support to new sister-in-law Jennifer Lopez. Despite not being there physically, it did seem like he was still interested in being a part of the event, even if just over social media. He shared another post to Instagram on Sunday that was another throwback photo of him, Jennifer, and Ben when the couple were first originally dating. In the caption he wrote, "Good things are worth waiting for. Here is to twists and turns, new beginnings, and finding new reservoirs of old love. Welcome to the family, get ready for some real dysfunction. Kidding, I am kidding. Jen, you're a gem, we love you so much."
At number 10, breaking up a marriage. So let's start at the beginning. J.Lo and Ben Affleck first met in the set of the 2003 rom-com J.Lo, who played love interests. It quickly becomes more than that on set though, going from reportedly very close friends to confirming their relationship in 2002. The timeline, I must admit, is a bit strange, considering she was married to Chris Judd for just 9 months while filming the movie. Confirming their divorce by June 2002, we have to ask the question, did Ben break up her marriage? Chris's dad may seem to think so. In 2003, Larry Judd, Chris's father, said Chris is probably the best thing that ever happened to her. Chris is a one-woman guy. His thing was to motivate her and to keep her life in perspective. Chris said there was no problems, and I know there were. I told him maybe she would come out of it, but she just didn't, and she ended up jumping in with the worst person that she possibly could be with. J.Lo has been reported to be infatuated with Ben right from the beginning, making a few fans question if their relationship possibly started a lot earlier than we were told. Ben has always denied these claims, saying when he met her they just became very good friends, because she was married after all. There's no thought of a romantic relationship, so that created the opportunity to get to know each other without the falseness that goes into courtship, because you're trying to make a good impression. Just a month before J.Lo and Chris confirmed their divorce, Ben took ads out in Variety and The Hollywood Reporter to talk about just how much he loved working with Jennifer. He signed at the end of his apparent love letter with, "I only wish I were lucky enough to work with you in all your movies. With love, respect, and gratitude." When asked about this gesture, he explained that he was just trying to counteract the bad press that J.Lo was getting from apparently being a bit of a diva. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Number 9, weird gifts. Ben Affleck has never been shy about his apparent obsession with J.Lo's butt. Do you remember when he kissed her lower cheek in a music video for Jenny on the Block? Even going as far as describing her behind as a famous thing and that it should be treated well. It gets even stranger though. Ben seemed to take his own advice of treating it well to a whole other level by getting her a really bizarre gift. We all know Jennifer has always been pretty excited and open to share about her love of all things sparkly, some even saying her obsession can sometimes get a little bit out of hand. Ben took note of this, and in 2003, at the height of their relationship, he reportedly gifted the star a jewel-encrusted toilet seat. This was allegedly worth $105,000. Sapphires, rubies, pearls, and a diamond were laid within the plastic so J.Lo wouldn't get scratched. Well, on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno in 2003, he talks about the toilet seat, suggesting it might be some sort of Christmas present by saying, "I was in the Gulf for Christmas and then flew back right at the end, just in time to pick up the toilet seat for my girlfriend." Even if this was a joke, it didn't stop fans and the media to make speculations. When J.Lo was asked about the gift by People in 2011, she said, "Obviously not. That's just so weird." But if we go into consider her clean freak habits by getting a custom-made toilet seat cover to keep the germs away, we have to wonder if this rumor might just be true. Number 8. Cancelled wedding. After Ben popped the question in November 2002, they were set to get married in September 2003 in Santa Barbara, California. It was set to be quite a star-studded affair, with 200 guests getting ready to fly out for their big day. With big names like Bruce Willis, Courtney Cox, and Matt Damon, just to name a few. Everyone was pretty excited to attend the wedding, which reportedly cost just over $2.5 million. But just 4 days before the two were set to tie the knot, the whole event was called off. Calling it more of a postponement rather than a split made fans very concerned for the couple, lovingly called Benifer. The reason for the postponement was said to be due to the fact that the ceremony had been leaked to the press. The couple issued a statement to fans and friends which read, "We began to feel the spirit of what should have been the happiest days of our life could be compromised. We felt what should have been a joyful, sacred day could be spoiled for us, our families, and our friends." An anonymous insider told the media that Jennifer was so upset by having to postpone her wedding that when she called guests, she was hysterically crying. People reported at the time that the couple did briefly split up immediately after their canceled wedding, but did try to rekindle their relationship. Eventually, they ended up calling it quits, just 4 months later. In 2008, Ben revealed that the primary end of their relationship is that they were just far too accessible, saying, "I don't think either of us anticipated the degree on which it would take on a work of its own." Number 7. Rekindling. Throughout the years, the couple have been known to have stayed very good friends, always supporting each other's achievements as well as never having a bad thing to say about the other. In a book back in 2016, J.Lo confessed that it was just the wrong time for the both of them. She revealed saying, "I felt like, okay, this is it, but sometimes I feel like what you think people are and how you see them when you love them is different than what they reveal later. I think different time, different thing. Who knows what could have happened?" There was a genuine love there. After news came out of J.Lo's split from fiancé Alex Rodriguez, it is reported that the two wasted no time at all and were seen spending time together just weeks after her breakup. It has been reported that even weeks before her split, Ben had been emailing J.Lo about how beautiful she looked in her new movie Shotgun Wedding. Allegedly more flirty than friendly, he was stressing about how much he wished he could be with her. If you thought, "Wow, that seems really fast," then you aren't alone. Many started speculating yet again that the relationships may have just been overlapping. Number 6. Engaged. Again, confirming the news of her engagement on her newsletter on the J.Lo. She shares a video showing off her green engagement ring. Linda Lopez, the star's sister, also shares photos on her Instagram story, writing, "So, this happened. Love you both," and tagging the stars. An insider told Us Weekly, Ben and Jen wanted their wedding to be an elaborate statement of their love story for their friends and family. They really wanted everyone to just have a good time. They wanted it to be intimate, yet immaculate. This comes just 7 years after Ben's split with Jennifer Garner, we had 3 children with, and just 1 year after J.Lo's breakup with Alex. Back in April, the two seemed to be gearing up for another huge ceremony, with insiders saying the couple wouldn't spare any expenses. This left a few fans wondering what the Jennifers really thought about each other. As we know, Ben and Garner co-parent children, and J.Lo coming in as their new stepmom could be interesting. Without too much being said, ended appearing as if they're one big happy family so far. We can't forget the time Ben threw Garner under the bus. Ben, when talking about his marriage with Garner, was reported saying if he were still with Garner, they would be at each other's throats, claiming he would have turned to another mind-numbing substance, believing he couldn't leave because of his children, which is a pretty wild thing to say about your ex-wife and the mother of your children. Many fans came to Garner's side, forcing Ben to stress how these comments were taken out of context. With all of this coming to light, a Vanity Fair interview interview emerged in 2016 with Garner saying when talking about Ben, "When his sun shines on you, you feel it. But when the sun is shining elsewhere, it's cold. He can cast quite a shadow." Number 5, wedding day. After a full 2 decades, the wedding finally happened. The two ended up eloping in Vegas in July 2022, sharing photos in her newsletter saying, "We did it. Love is beautiful, love is kind." Despite having plans for a huge ceremony, the two ended up just going for it, and they jetted off to Las Vegas for a speedy wedding. We have to wonder though, why so quickly? And why not the wedding ceremony J.Lo has been talking about? Reportedly because J.Lo was feeling the pressure, and she was worried Ben would get cold feet and back out. Is this also what could have happened last time? These last-minute plans were a surprise to everyone, but was it too spontaneous for Ben's other 3 children to be in attendance? With only Emma, J.Lo's daughter, and Serafina, one of Ben's daughters, were there to see the parents getting married. According to an insider source, Violet, Ben's 17-year-old daughter, didn't want to attend because she's loyal to her mom, which is definitely a bit of a worrying thing for what the future holds and how J.Lo is gonna fit into their lives. Ben reportedly did also tell Garner about the wedding, but since it was so last minute and predominantly spur of the moment, she also was not able to make it. Number 4, bad for his career. Ben has opened up in the past about how his career took a turn for the worst in the early 2000s. While he did star in a few films here and there during the time, they didn't end up doing too well. He has claimed that this could be due to the fact that his relationship with J.Lo was so publicized. The attention that came with it was seemingly a part of why his career was in a little bit of a lull. When sharing about his personal life at the time, the star says, "What happens is this sort of bleed over from the tabloids across your movie work. I ended up in the unfortunate crosshair position where I was in a relationship, and the media mostly lied and inflated a bunch of stuff for the sake of selling magazines. Well, I certainly paid the price for that." Number 3, accused of cheating. In August 2003, 1 month before calling it quits on their wedding plans, the National Enquirer reported some interesting news on Ben. In the report, an exotic dancer named Tammy Morris reveals some of the events that occurred when she spent an evening with the star, claiming to be with the actor and 3 other dancers when he picked the 4 of them up in Brandy's exotic nightclub in Vancouver. She does go on to say, "It's a night I'll never forget, but I'm sure it's one he'll want to forget." He allegedly told the dancers to keep this between them after giving them each a very large tip. After this story came out, Antonella Santini, one of the exotic dancers, filed a slander suit against the National Enquirer. She was claiming the story was fake. She also claimed that Tammy was paid $100,000 by the tabloid to tell this fake story. When Ben was asked about this and the authenticity, he called the report total garbage. Not denying he did go to the nightclub that night, he did say he called J.Lo, and she reportedly said it was cool. What do you guys think? Maybe just another incident of tabloids trying to get a story, or could there maybe be some truth to it? Number 2, disinterest at the Grammys. Even though this year's Grammys was full of history-making events, drama, and amazing performances, Ben looked super disinterested through the whole thing. Cameras captured Ben sitting very somberly next to his new wife J.Lo. Many fans took to their socials to express how they felt Ben looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. One Twitter user wrote, "Ben Affleck is so consistent in his misery, I almost have to admire it." And another writing, "You can see his batteries draining in real time. Man is already at 23%. During the performance Back to Motown medley, cameras showed J.Lo dancing happily while Ben just looks on miserably. This already be signs of marriage troubles. And at number 1, J.Lo snapping at Ben. The newlyweds of 6 months already were looking like they were having some trouble in paradise. Having front row seats to the Grammys really just means you can't avoid the cameras at all. With many making jokes about Ben's miserable looking face, others were more concerned about what appeared to be Jen snapping at him. Cameras panning to the newlyweds shows what appears to be Ben whispering something into Jen's ear. A body language interpreter studied the scene, saying Jennifer's response to Ben's whisper looks firm and knee-jerk. Her head whipped around to suggest that what he said shocked her. One of her hands grabbed her own knee while the other clutched Ben's leg in what looked like a controlled gesture. Judy James, the body language interpreter, also points out how there were no smiles afterward, looking like a pretty confrontational scene. A lip reader also reveals what J.Lo appears to be saying to her new new husband, reportedly saying, "Look more friendly, look motivated," and he responds with what looks like, "I might." A source came forward to defend the two, saying, "Jen and Ben had a fun date night out at the Grammys, but they have been both very busy working on several projects, and Ben has been feeling very tired. Jen knows Ben is a great husband, and they still made sure to have a good night together. You do still have to admit though, the whole thing did look a little bit weird from our perspective though." Coming in at number 10, we have the Grammys. To have a public fight anywhere is uncomfortable enough without being a celebrity at the Grammys. When Jennifer and Ben seemed to have a disagreement at this year's Grammys, it sent alarm bells to fans who began believing that there may be trouble in paradise. When investigating why they began fighting in the first place, it was later revealed that the source of the miserable looks from Ben are most likely due to the fact that he was just exhausted that day. While being in front row seats, they really just couldn't avoid the camera whatsoever. Being pressured to go anywhere you don't want to go sucks no matter who you are, and it really seems that Ben just wasn't having it. A source close to the stars tells the press, "Jen and Ben had a fun date night out at the Grammys, but they have both been very busy working on several projects. And Ben was feeling very tired. He wanted to go and support Jen, but he just wasn't his usual self." But are Ben and Jen just a bit too different? The source explains further, saying, "Ben is more of a homebody. It just isn't his thing to be out at events all the time." While Jen reportedly thinks the memes about Ben that are circulating around the internet are hilarious, Ben allegedly brushes them off. The source claims she had shown Ben a few photos that night, and he brushed it off as he's not fazed of what the internet has to say about him. Regardless of what the source claims, a body language expert took a look at the situation and gave her opinion at the event. When looking at the whisper between Ben and Jen, she says, "Jennifer's response to Ben's whisper looks much more firm and knee-jerk," though the expert explains further that J.Lo's reaction to Ben seems to be shocking, and her hand on his knee could be considered a control gesture. Also noting how they have no smiles afterwards. She concludes that she believes the whole thing is a confrontational moment. Could this just be a bad day or the beginning to an end? Number 9, unhappy home. When they first got together, an insider revealed how Jennifer was walking on air, but now it appears she's coming down to reality as multiple sources have claimed the honeymoon phase has worn off since settling into their life at their LA home. While both are working with busy careers and the stress of blending two families, could it just all be too much? A source tells the press they're back to the grind of work and parenting. Reality has set in. The same source also explains that only recently Ben stormed out of the house following an intense fight. Allegedly, the couple have been arguing non-stop since the wedding. A source says, "Before the wedding, Jennifer put on an Oscar-worthy performance for Ben, pretending to be perfect, easygoing wife-to-be, claiming Ben was blinded by love and just didn't really know what he was getting into." Number 8, her control freak methods. Jennifer has said to be a bit of a diva in the past, as well as a bit controlling of her space and anyone that's in it. Reportedly, Ben just needs some space as he wants things to work out. An insider revealed Ben's life has become much more difficult ever since he tied the knot with Jennifer because of her controlling behavior. Many are beginning to realize that J.Lo's personality could be taking a toll on the relationship. Another insider shared with Us Weekly that the issues between the two are becoming very visible now, since their viral Grammys appearance, claiming they try to play it down, but the tensions are plain for all to see. The consensus is that she's tough on Ben and intense in her ways. He's finding it difficult to take. Fans even seem to speculate that the pair contradict each other. Maybe Ben's more low-key attitude and Jennifer's more extroverted, flashy personality just aren't going to be a good match. With reports of Jen trying to pick outfits for her man to forcing his attendance to the events he has no interest in, do you think it's really going to work out in the end? Number 7, marriage clauses. As we know, Ben and Jennifer were engaged before their recent marriage, and they had other people in their lives, of course. Reportedly, because of this, J.Lo and Ben signed an anti-cheating clause that has caused a bit of controversy. But exactly how much will they get if one of them cheats? Apparently, to avoid any infidelity, the couple signed a $5 million anti-cheating agreement. Information from a close source claims Jennifer fears Ben is going to get tired of her, saying she's trying to keep things fresh and exciting. She doesn't want to divorce just after a few months of marriage, and she's very conscious of what people say about them. This is reportedly not the only contract Jennifer got her husband to sign. Allegedly, Jennifer has a contract to even do with their weekly sexual relations, getting Ben to sign on for having a minimum of 4 sexual relations per week. I mean, people have said she's controlling in the past, but if this is really true, it is next level. Number 6, we have J.Lo's career. While we know the honeymoon phase has to eventually come to an end, theirs seems to be particularly quick. According to some various new reports, Ben was shocked when Jen decided to return to work almost immediately after their wedding day. A close source to the couple says she had him fooled for a while, but Ben's realizing Jennifer is as career-driven as she's ever been. The couple honeymooned in France, then Jen decided to make a side trip to Italy in order to be in a fashion shoot, instead of returning home to LA with him. In previous interviews, Ben has always explained how he is blown away by his wife's work ethic, but a source has said how disappointed he has been as Jennifer seems to prioritize her career over time with the family. As Jen is generally more of a type A personality, it seems the difference in lifestyles is leading to complications. Jennifer has been denying these claims, saying, "It's super important for me, especially now, to prioritize my personal life and not just my work life. When I had kids was when I started thinking differently. Things changed for me. Little by little, my perspective has turned into a healthier work-life balance." But if what sources say are true, it may be that Jen has changed her mind. Number 5, Ben's bad habits. One of the major things that seems to clash with Jennifer's health-conscious lifestyle is Ben's smoking habit. Despite maintaining a sober lifestyle, his smoking habit is the one thing he's really hanging on to. It was Jennifer's former fiance Alex who would brag about Jennifer's ultra-clean lifestyle. He said in a previous interview, she really leans into the big fundamentals, like getting her rest 8 to 10 hours. She doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and she lives a very clean life. An insider claims that this is a big deal for Jen, as this is one of his long-standing habits. They reveal he promised to give it up, but with all her nagging, he's smoking more and more often. Besides his most likely very irritating smoking habit, the source also reveals Ben may have a bit of a cleanliness problem as well, sharing Ben doesn't clean up after himself, which irritates Jennifer. The source also discusses the way J.Lo goes about her nagging with her husband, saying she's been known to yell at him and point her finger. This makes people wonder if she mistakes him for a dog. For the sake of their marriage, we have to hope that these are just rumors. Number 4, we have his ex-wife's advice. Ben and his ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, seem to have a very good relationship now in regards to co-parenting. Sources have said there is no ill will from anyone, and their mutual goal is to focus on zero drama and to prioritize being great parents to their children, as well as claiming that they get along really well. But could recent trouble with his new marriage force him to turn to his ex for advice, as well as maybe a shoulder to vent on? A source close to the star claims that Ben has been asking Garner for help in his marriage. The source reveals, especially when it comes to the issue of their children, which is said to be the couple's biggest source of contention. I'm sure this is something J.Lo can't be too impressed by, and I can't imagine I would be either. And number 3, we have the media. Jennifer called her 2004 split with Ben her biggest heartbreak. But why did this end in the first place? Well, reportedly it's because of the media. When they planned to cement their relationship, the couple ended up postponing their wedding due to the excessive media attention it was getting. This was followed by ending their relationship just the next year. In a conversation that was released after, it reveals how Ben hated all the attention the wedding was getting, which in the end was one of the reasons that the two called for the original postponement. He reportedly says, "It's driving me crazy. Everything is out of control." Because of the media disrupting their lives to this extent in the past, you know the two have to be very wary of it now. A relationship expert chimed in, saying the reason that they were making a big show of their relationship is due to the fact that they are struggling so much behind closed doors. The expert also believes that J.Lo is worried about fans doubting her choice, especially if the relationship fails. Jo Hemmings, the expert herself, says Ben won't get a third chance, which is why we see him so glued to J.Lo's side. And if she gets a whiff of him behaving badly, then he won't be forgiven this time. Jo believes Ben has to prove he has matured from the last 2 decades and show how ready he is for this commitment with her this time around. Jo goes on to explain, saying she cares more about what her followers think than she might be willing to admit. And by both of them making such public statements, whether in a song, a reign, or a social media post, they're reinforcing their tenacity to make this work. I'm sure Ben can't love how much the media is seemingly playing a role in their relationship though. And at number 2, we have known to be rude. Many fans believe Jennifer Lopez tops the list when it comes to rudest celebrities in Hollywood. Though she has earned her high reputation for her acting, her singing, her dancing, a few fans believe she's not as nice as she hopes to appear. Social media users have come forward recently to share their weird interactions with the star. One TikTok user explains her experience when trying to help J.Lo pick out shoes for her kids. Apparently when the Foot Locker employee couldn't find the size, J.Lo cussed her out. Another shared how a nail artist was forced to give the singer a pedicure upside down as Jennifer was laying on her stomach and refusing to roll onto her back. With Ben having such a more introverted lifestyle and low-key attitude, it's hard to know if they're really going to make this match work, considering how Jennifer acts in public, to fans and to staff members. And at number 1, we have public arguments. With the couple being in the spotlight after their recent and very public moment at the Grammys, it's hard to not watch all their future interactions. So when video footage surfaced of the couple attending the premiere in January of J.Lo's new movie, Shotgun Wedding, the internet detectives got to work. In the clip, it seems the relationship isn't as blissful as they want fans to believe. At first glance, it seems they were just having a simple conversation while J.Lo sips her drink, but fans believe something different may be going on. When watching the clip, you can definitely notice some tension happening, with Ben looking defensive as Jen glares at him. TikTok sleuths believe they've gotten to the bottom of it, as they tried to lip read the two to better understand what was really going on. The lip reader claims Ben said to J.Lo, "I didn't drink anything, okay?" Jen then gives him a glare while taking a sip of her own drink. TikTok users then speculate that Ben says to J.Lo, "Jen," very frustrated. Though it's impossible to know what they're really talking about, the lip reader does seem to be spot on.